There lived a young man, and a young man alikuwa anaenda kugraze every time, so he used to do the grazing for the community. Now, this young man, every time he will go to graze, he will reach some point, then he will run back to the village telling villagers, Simba, Simba, Simba amekuja, Simba amekuja. And the villagers would get spears, and then they would run to the bush every time. And then the boy would climb on top of the tallest tree and start laughing. This went on and on and on and on until one day villagers were like, now we're not doing this anymore. So one day the boy literally ran back to the village screaming, Simba, lion, a lion. And the villagers ignored him. And unfortunately, that was the day that the lion had literally come. It killed all the cattle, all the sheep. Now, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about the power of taking things for granted. And I know many people may wonder, like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say today? And today I want to look at how many times do we take people for granted? How many times do we take things for granted? Because I know every morning you wake up, you go over the same routine over and over and over. But there is something you do. There is someone you always take for granted. And you always assume that that person will always be there because that person is either your relative, that person is either your mentor, that person is either your friend, that person is either even your spouse. And today I want us to really look at this issue. When is enough enough? Because are we going to be like the young man who kept on taking the villagers for granted? Or are we going to look at life in a different manner? Over my life, I haven't been a good person. Over my life, I also haven't been a bad person. But over my time living in Earth, I've learned that most times we take people for granted. Most time, even just telling somebody thank you, you find it very difficult. Most time, that father who pays your school fees for you, most time that parent who is always there for you, you take that parent for granted because you always believe that it is their role, it is their right, it is, they must do it for you. Have you ever thought that sometimes people can hide it and they can get enough of what you're doing? That lover that you keep taking for granted, that lover that you keep maybe cheating on, that lover that you keep on insulting, that lover that you keep believing in yourself that, manze mjomba, you're nothing to me. Have you ever sat and asked yourself that? Probably, and I mean probably, when you take somebody for granted for far too long, when they walk away, you're the one who loses the most. In my life, I've taken people for granted. In my life, I have been taken for granted. This Monday morning, this week, I want to ask us to go back and evaluate our lives. I want us to look at our lives and ask ourselves, did I do right by this person? Or was I too macho? Was I too resistant? Was I too self-centered that I never really realized that I was taking somebody for granted? It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could even be your brother, your sister, somebody close to you. Let's learn to have the power of saying thank you. Let's learn sometimes that I can sit and I can literally tell somebody, by the way, I'm sorry I wronged you. Please forgive me. I'm not being weak, but I'm also not taking somebody for granted, because I came to realize that somebody can even wake up one day and start insulting you. Over the course of my life, somebody woke up and actually called me, hey, you are ugly, oh, you're what? And I always say that, yeah, you can be ugly, you can be beautiful, that is God's creation. But if I look at the people who were saying those words vis-a-vis what I was doing for them, if I look at the people I said negative things to vis-a-vis what they were doing for me, I come to realize one thing, that at times we really take people for granted. At times we really get so self-centered that we do not understand when we are actually doing wrong to people. It may sound like a lecture, and yes, it is a lecture. Today it's not a story. it's serious motivation. Even as a country, our president is taking us for granted, and whether we like it or not, all our politicians are taking us for granted. They do believe that because we voted them in, it is their right to steal from us, it is their right to insult us. But one day the masses will wake up. One day people will wake up and realize that enough is enough, and they'll be forced to act. So can we take one thing home today? Let's not take people for granted. Let's remember that even when you beat a donkey, ukipiga punda kila siku, you keep hitting it, one day that donkey will collapse and die. Or one day that donkey will turn against you and beat you. So let's realize that as human beings, we can do better, we can do stronger, and we can do good to other human beings. Catch you next time.